Okay, so we'll continue on. I want to talk to you this time a little bit about sort of one of the key figures really in the last 100 years. Not in a good way really, but we all know him, so I guess we should probably talk about him. His name is Adolf Hitler, and he is the leader of Germany in World War II. Sort of really the most devastating war in history. We're talking in terms of deaths, not directly related to Hitler, but just in terms of overall, like 80 million deaths, sort of like that. So that was 1939 to 1945. That's Hitler. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about Hitler. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on before him and after him. But yeah, so Hitler's idea is something known as the Thousand-Year Reich, like the Thousand-Year Empire that was Hitler's goal. If you ever watched Pinky and the Brain, like that's what that's about. All right, so I want to talk to this guy named Adolf Hitler. He's born in 1889, dies right at the end of the war, self-inflicted. They think, they're pretty sure. Put a gun to his head and killed himself. But I mean, he had no other choice at that point. He was surrounded. So let's just talk about Hitler himself as a young guy. He wasn't even German. Like he was Austrian, which is kind of weird. His dad he had a good job. His dad was a customs official in Austria. And it's kind of odd as well because his name actually, the family name wasn't always Hitler, of course. The family name was actually Schicklgruber. So, and his mom gets married to a guy named Heidler, which ultimately becomes historically Hitler, right? So, Hitler, when he was growing up, he wasn't really a very good student. He wasn't. I mean, he was a smart guy, I guess, but he wasn't good at school. He kind of flunked out before he graduated. And he went on. He had ambitions to become an artist. He wanted to be an artist. And when you actually look at it, when you look at the website, there's a bunch of his paintings on there. You can look at those as well. So if you do this, watch this video in conjunction with the website, right? You'll get some reasonable look at this stuff. So he wants to be an artist, and he's not doing well at school. So anyway, he leaves and he goes off to Vienna, like major city in Austria, with his goal of trying to get into the Vienna School of Arts, I think it was called, let me just check it up here, what the name of that was. Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, sorry. And in 1909, he moves to Vienna as a young man, right? But within a year, he finds himself homeless and eating out of like soup kitchens and homeless shelters and that kind of thing. Did some like trivial jobs periodically, like painting postcards and stuff, because he was pretty good at that, painting postcards for tourists. And they think it's at this time in Vienna where he starts to develop his hatred of foreigners. Not necessarily Jews at this point, but just foreigners in general. He actually tries to join the army in Austria, but he gets rejected because he is unfit to bear arms. So yeah, he wasn't good enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't whatever, healthy enough to become an Austrian soldier. But anyway, in 1913, he has him crossing the border to southern Germany. And this is where the whole Germany piece comes in. And he joins the army in Munich, in southern Germany. And which is weird. I mean, not weird, but at that point, they were taking anybody, I guess. So it makes some sense. But and then, as we know, talked about before, in World War I, he fought. He was a reasonable soldier, and he won some medals for bravery. The Iron Cross, he won 2 of them. He was wounded by gas at one of the battles in Ypres right at the end of the war. Interestingly enough, the medals, the recommendation for the medals actually came from his regimental captain, who was Jewish. But I mean, that's whatever, right? So his wins the Iron Cross, and at the end of the war, it's like, now what am I gonna do? So what he does is he stays in the army at the end, and he ends up sort of taking on this role of spying on this local political group known as the German Workers' Party. And while he's there, he becomes interested in, and he actually joins the party, which is, whatever. Hitler had a lot of talent for publicity, and was a good public speaker. And he transformed this party, this workers' party, also known as the Nazi Party. That's what Nazi means, right? The Nazi Party into like a significant political party, right? So that's kind of where we start with Hitler and the Nazis.